I'm Dennis Anderson along with Julie Zenner, and here's what's coming up on Almanac North.
We'll talk with the Duluth Seaway Port Authority's new director, the first woman leading the agency in its 60-year history.
Duluth streets are known for their potholes. Now a new product that makes use of waste from taconite mining is being tested to patch city streets.
And the Duluth Superior Symphony Orchestra is preparing to set sail on a new season.
These stories and the business news coming up on Almanac North. Well, hello and welcome to Almanac North. Thank you very much for watching. This week's show was recorded on Wednesday, so our crew can prepare for this weekend's live symphony broadcast. We'll have more on that later. Now here's Julie with our first guest.
All right, thanks Denny, and welcome everyone. There is new leadership at the top of an important economic development agency in the Twin Ports. Since it was created as an independent public agency back in 1955, 7 men have led the Duluth Seaway Port Authority. In August, the first woman to head the port was appointed by the Port Authority Board. Deb DeLuca joins us now to talk about her new role and update us on the shipping season. And welcome, Deb. Oh. Congratulations on your new position.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me here today.
Good.
Yes, now you have been at the port for a number of years. Share a bit about your background, though, for people who might not be familiar with you.
Sure. Well, for the past 4 years, I've been Government and Environmental Affairs Director at the Port Authority. And in that role, I represented the port both in the legislature, but also within the community and at the federal level, and tracked legislation and monitored regulatory changes and represented our interests in that way. I also dealt with environmental issues on port properties and the like. And so I was in that position for 4 years. And prior to that, I owned my own business. I did work for, my clients were public sector and private sector interests that were involved in brownfield redevelopment of formerly used contaminated property. And I would go after grants and put together big grant portfolios to help them meet their needs and then help them manage those grants. So that was my prior work, and before that I managed the voluntary investigation and cleanup program at the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, did some work in the private sector, and I also started as one of 4 founding board members of the nonprofit called Minnesota Brownfields.
So it sounds like you come to this position with a lot of experience. As we mentioned in the intro, you're the first woman to hold the position. Is a woman port director still an anomaly in the industry?
I think that this tracks a trend that we are seeing in many industries right now. There's actually, I think, 14 Port Authority directors nationwide that are women, and 1 on the Great Lakes, other than me, 2 on the Great Lakes with me.
Deb, an impact study was recently made on the port. What did it discover? What is the port contributing to the economy here, and what's its potential?
Well, that's a great question. The Port Authority continues, the Port of Duluth Superior, not to be confused with the Port Authority, still is an important economic engine within the region. The 35 million tons of cargo that moves through the port represents 1.4 billion in economic activity in the region and nearly 8,000 jobs. So it's an important part of our region's economy.
Mm-hmm. Now, the Duluth Port pulled this information out of a larger study. Why is it so important to get those local numbers and really drive home that importance to folks around here?
Well, that's a good question. You're right. We are part of a system. We're part of the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway system, and the study was done looking at the economic impact of the broader system. But those local numbers or those regional numbers are really important to understand, how this affects our region and the importance of this of shipping and related transportation services within this economy. It's easy to, it's so funny. We're like, there's so many ports nationwide are sort of tucked away from the community. You can't see them. Here, you drive down over Thompson Hill, you look down from Skyline Drive. We are part of the community. But in spite of that, people kind of forget that this is also a core industry within the region. They forget the economic importance of the port. And so I think that those numbers are always valuable to help to remind us of that.
Deb, has the 2018 season been a good season for the port?
It has been a good season. We're tracking right on par with last season. And it's interesting, we don't have the September numbers in quite yet, but August we saw a big surge in grain. We're hoping that we see that through the rest of the season. As you know, I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't tell you that that's for sure what's going to happen, but that's what we're hoping happens. Iron ore is doing very well. It's tracking right on par where it was last year, and that indicates the domestic steel making still has a strong presence.
Does this mean it's an indicator of what could happen next year as well?
Again, that's always hard to say exactly, but we hope so. We hope so.
How has the intermodal terminal impacted what's coming and going at the port? Has it brought some new business opportunities? Is it living up to the expectations? It was opened with great fanfare.
Yes, it has been very successful, and it's it's a very exciting development for the region. I want to give credit to my predecessor, Von Takota. It was really his vision, and he's the one who had the idea and brought together all the partners. It's Canadian National's intermodal it's the Canadian National Duluth Intermodal Terminal. And it's right on the Duluth Seaway Port Authority's Clear Public Marine Terminal. But we are outperforming all of our key indicators. We're getting customers from outside of the catchment area that we thought we would. Our numbers are greater than we thought. What's really exciting about it, I think that what's really important for the region to understand is that our customers are experiencing they're saving up to a third on their freight costs. And that's huge because they're going to put those savings back into their businesses. And that's, ideally they'll be growing their business. They could be hiring more people, adding another line. So that's important. It makes us a more attractive region to locate
I need kind of a quick answer. Can you grow business at the port during the winter?
Yes, we're always working on growing our business. We're reaching out to people at that time, and we have a number of capital expenditure projects in the works. Those are ongoing. All of those, and we're improving our infrastructure to lay the foundation for more business.
All right, Deb DeLuca, Duluth Port Authority Executive Director. Congratulations, and thanks for coming in and talking with us.
Thanks a lot. Thank you so much. Okay.
Well, it's no secret that Duluth's hundreds of miles of streets have more than their share of potholes. The harsh weather combined with fiscal limits has made patching and repairing the streets a constant problem. Now the city is working with UMD's Natural Resources Research Institute on a new patching compound. It utilizes waste material from taconite mining and may provide longer life than conventional patches. Here to tell us more is Larry Sanko, a senior researcher with the Natural Resources Research Institute, and Jim Benning is the director of the Duluth Public Works and Utility Department. Thank you both for being here. Larry, tell us, how in the world did you discover that this patch, taconite tailings waste, might be something that Duluth could use?
Well, this is something we've been working on at NRI for a while, and actually we developed a patent for it several years ago.
I recall that.
Yeah, and so since that time we've been modifying it, improving it, we think, and we recognize that the materials generated by the taconite industry, especially a lot of the byproduct material, like tailings, this is a good use for that. and everybody needs a better pothole fix. So hopefully this is going down the right road.
And nobody knows potholes better than you, right?
We're quite familiar with potholes in Duluth, unfortunately.
So how do you see this as a promising material as you start to work with it or your crews start working with it?
We do see this as a very promising material. So much so as Mayor Larson brought this up in her State of the City address. It was that important to her. And we're fortunate enough to have NRRI in our backyard that can provide that technical, innovative support. And we also believe it's great for the regional economy because it doesn't just impact Duluth, it spreads to the range where this product actually comes from.
Mm-hmm. If this works well, do you see putting an end to asphalt patching altogether?
I don't think it's going to replace asphalt patching altogether. It's a little too time consuming for that, but it's certainly going to be in our portfolio of materials that we can use for potholes. I think the best use of it's going to be in concrete pavement where we've got holes in concrete and in high traffic areas because as Larry's shown in his demonstrations, we can get in there and this stuff sets up real quick and within a couple hours we've got traffic back on it.
Wow.
Whereas if you use concrete, you've got to wait about a week before you can put traffic back on it.
We just saw some video of you out there with crews
Yes.
patching holes. Any challenges as far as taking the research and the findings that you have in the laboratory and moving them out into the real world and figuring out if it's the same thing?
That's always a challenge, and that's why it's great to be able to work with the city on this. MnDOT has been supportive of this project from the get-go too. So we've got opportunities to get it out of the lab and put it down on a street or a highway and, okay, let's see how this works. But yeah, that is the challenge, is the scale up. And as Jim pointed out, the next step for us, we feel, is scaling it up even further so that it becomes something that is a lot more easy to put down in larger quantities, that the crews can get out there and do a lot more work with, and that's a real objective.
Again, if this works, I can almost hear the valves turning in the brains of entrepreneurs. Aha, whole new industry.
Well,
could this spread to other cities and states?
Oh, you bet. Potholes are a universal problem, and we think that this has really good potential for that. We are working with a small company, Iron Range-based company, that licensed the technology. So that could be part of their, again, like the Public Works Department, it's a tool in their toolbox. It's another product that we can get out there and make some really good use of.
Mm-hmm. Any indications on cost? Would this be more affordable to the city perhaps than traditional asphalt patching material, or?
I think we're going to wait and see.
No.
When you're talking cost, you have to talk about total cost. We've got the cost of the material, which is probably a little more expensive. But if we don't come back every year like we do on the majority of these potholes, if you come back every few years or until we can reconstruct these streets, then the overall cost goes down and we can move on to other things with our time.
Jim, does other equipment have to be purchased by the city to use tailings?
I'd say minimal. There's no huge capital investment.
A good number 2 shovel?
A good number 2 shovel and a portable mixer, but nothing extremely expensive, no.
Mm-hmm. What are you finding so far as you look at some of these early patches out in the field? Are you feeling that this is a product that has a lot of potential? Do you need to change the recipe a little bit? What's the deal?
Yes. Well, what we do is based a lot on our experience that we have. And if we see some deficiencies, that can happen. Research isn't perfect. And so we sort of adjust to that and say, okay, what is it that we can do that could help this? And that's, again, having that partnership with the city, with MnDOT, that gives us the ability to do that, make some changes, and then hopefully it improves the performance over time. So that's really a key part of this.
Are the mining companies on board?
The people that we work with, certainly they're always looking for, some outlet. Again, this is a niche product, value-added product, so, it's relatively small in the scheme of things when you're talking about an industry that's so large as the taconite industry. But yeah, everything helps.
It sounds like you're ready to give it a good go, Jim, come spring.
Sure. Yep. Work with Larry and NRI. We'll see how our patches held up over the winter. We've got a number of them put in different areas.
Good.
So yeah, that's
It's been an issue.
yeah.
All right.
So-
Larry, Jim, thank you. We're out of time.
Very good.
Appreciate you being here.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate it.
The Duluth Superior Symphony Orchestra begins its new season Saturday night with a program of classic along with a percussion concerto from one of their own. The new season has an overall theme of grand adventures, and opening night kicks things off with Sailing North. And here to tell us all about it is Dirk Meyer, the music director of the Duluth Superior Symphony Orchestra. Dirk, welcome back.
Hello.
Tell us
Good to
about
be here.
Sailing North. What's this all about?
Sailing North, yeah, what's this all about? You mentioned that our season is called Grand Adventures, and so we're taking our audience on all these different grand adventures around the globe, so to speak. But you got to start somewhere, and we figured no better place to start than right here at home. And so the first program, Sailing North, we call it because it's a nice name, features some American music. As you mentioned, it features a concerto by one of our very own. Gene Kaczynski is our principal percussionist, and we will be performing his concerto for two percussionists and orchestra called Sony Chroma. And then we, in the second half, perform a symphony, the Symphony No. 1 by a composer who's very dear to many up here, Jean Sibelius.
Grand Adventures is such a great theme for a season. Speak a little bit to music's ability to really transport people to other places and times.
You know, and that's a great observation, and actually that was part of why we thought Grand Adventures would be a nice title, because for one, of course, you can feature different compositions from throughout the world, but also I think that when you come to a symphony performance and experience this, the music together with 1,000 or 2,000 people around you, it really has a transformative aspect to it, and it really can take off the pressure of your everyday lives, and it takes you in itself on a grand adventure. So we thought it's a very fitting title for what we do in general and the season as a whole.
Dirk, how many concerts this season and what's on the schedule?
So we have 10 concerts this season. We have 7 Masterworks performances and 3 pops, and our pops include a holiday show in December, a New Year's Eve performance with music of Journey. It's a tribute to Journey.
Oh.
And a very fun show in February with Big Wave Dave, who is of course very well known in this town. And our Masterworks season is 7 concerts strong. The first one this Saturday. And some highlights include Mahler's Symphony No. 5 coming up in November, together with our chorus. We'll be involved in that concert as well. We have a wonderful chorus. And they perform the Fauré Requiem on this one. And later in the season, the chorus will perform the Hymn of Praise by Mendelssohn, a seldom performed work, but really, really fantastic piece of music. And we wrap up the season with a concert that's just pure fun in very, very early May. That concludes with the Bolero that I'm sure most people recognize when they hear it.
How do you go about planning a schedule?
You know, usually you have 1 or 2 pieces that, would be good for the orchestra to do for whatever reason, and that I think the community would embrace or should hear because they're new or whatever it is. And then maybe you have a guest artist that you want to invite, and those are sort of like the first building blocks, and then you start building your season, you start building each program and see what makes sense together. And once you have one program, you say, okay, well, we did this here, so maybe now we need to do a classical piece over here, and here something more modern, something romantic. You want to find a good balance, and this is how you slowly, build an entire season.
What does the DSSO contribute to the entire Northland? What's your mission?
Well, our mission is, of course, to bring this amazing music, quality orchestral music to our community and to the Northland. And I think that is crucial, especially in the world that we live in today, where everything is fast and everybody's on their phone all the time, answering emails, never being able to just shut off and just enjoy something. Also, I think, and I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, when you are there at Symphony Hall and you experience something together with people around you and they all have that same experience at the same time, that is something that's very rare in our world today, where we are all so wired the entire time and we're on our devices, et cetera, et cetera. It's a shared experience that really you can't find anywhere else.
Are symphony goers in Duluth different from other audiences that you have
Yes, of course. I mean, every community has its own interests and so on. But overall, I think people who enjoy orchestral music are they're similar wherever you go, and not just wherever you go in America, but really internationally. You know, they're cultured people. I'd like to think that enjoy something like this.
What do you think people will enjoy the most this weekend?
This weekend? Well, it depends on what you prefer. If you're somebody who likes energy in music, then you probably are going to enjoy Gene's Concerto very, very much. There's 70 instruments in front of the orchestra that the two percussionists are playing, and it's a lot of rhythm, and it's really energetic. If you love lush melodies, then you will probably enjoy most Symphony No. 1. And if you're a jazz fan, then you're probably going to enjoy most the opener, which is the Bernstein 3 dance episodes from On the Town.
Going to be a busy night down there
Very much
this weekend. You've got the UMD Gopher game also going on. Any advice for people who want to see it in person, or those who just want to see it, perhaps?
Yeah, if you want to see it in person and experience this, my advice is to get there early because it will be quite the night at the deck.
Well, the orchestra season is definitely back. We wish you well, and I know you will do another fine job for the DSSO.
Thank you.
Thank you so very kindly.
It's time now for the business news from the folks at Business North. A tentative accord was reached Saturday afternoon in Pittsburgh between the United Steelworkers Union and Cleveland Cliffs. Union leaders are preparing summaries of the proposal for nearly 1,100 members who work at Hibbing Taconite and United Taconite. The proposed 4-year agreement provides gains for members at all Cleveland Cliffs union facilities, according to union officials. Steelworker leaders are calling the agreement historic. That's because it's the first time they can recall reaching an agreement with Cleveland Cliffs before contracts were settled with domestic steelmakers.
St. Luke's Proctor Fitness Center, located at Proctor High School, opened last week. It is open to both students and community members. The center's goal is to help people in the Proctor area improve their health and wellness. Personal training is available to individuals or small groups by appointment, and physical therapy is available on site with a physician referral. The facility offers times that are reserved for student members only, and other times when all members may attend.
The RSM accounting firm in Duluth commemorated its 100th anniversary last week in a celebration hosted by Apex. The company has roots that date back to 1918 when Arden Grover started a small accounting firm. Over the years, it went through several mergers, including the joining of McGladrey and Pullen in 1990. RSM's Duluth office employs 90 people, 7 of whom are partners. Nationally, RSM has more than 10,000 professionals across 85 offices. RSM is Minnesota's 5th largest accounting firm. For more on these and other stories, visit businessnorth.com.
Well, we are out of time this week, but you can still call with a comment. Dial 218-788-2849 to leave a message, or send an email to almanacnorth@wdsc.org, and visit the WDSC website for our latest on our program schedule, news about your favorite PBS shows, and events coming up at the station. And Julie, remember you can tune in to WDSC's telecast of the symphony Saturday night at 7 p.m.
And that's one way to avoid all of the traffic.
It certainly
down
is.
by the deck.
I'll be tuned in. For Julie and the crew at WDSC, I'm Dennis Anderson. Have a great weekend. Good night, everybody, and be kind.